Hello everyone, welcome to chemistry class. Today onwards we begin the chapter number 3, elements, compounds and mixtures. In this chapter we shall be discussing how the substances around us, the substances we are surrounded by in our day-to-day life, how these substances can be classified into different categories. The categories the substance can be classified are forming the chapter name itself, that is element. Substances can be elements, they can be compounds or they can be mixtures. One by one we shall discuss about these three in details, about their properties, how they are written in the chemical methods. All these we shall be discussing in this present chapter. Today we shall be discussing about the elements and the compounds. So whatever substances are around us, as I told you, these substances which are surrounded by us in our day-to-day life, they all are classified into elements, compounds and mixtures. So first of all we will learn what are elements. Element is what? It is a substance which cannot be split into simpler methods or into simpler substances by chemical method. Split means what? Split means broken down into smaller particles. So if we cannot break down a particular substance into simpler ones, into smaller particles, then that substance is what? It is an element. Here you have to note down by which method we are using. So here it is chemical means. For example, just for an example, here it is given hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, iron, copper, silver and gold. All these whatever names are given there, all these are elements, and we cannot break down them into simpler substances by any chemical method. For example, if we take hydrogen gas and we apply any chemical method on this, then still it will remain as hydrogen only. Hydrogen atoms will not break down into smaller ones. So that is why we will say these are what? These are elements. We cannot break them down into smaller particles. So here the method we have taken is chemical methods. There are two different methods by which we can which can be applied on these particular substances. They are chemical method as well as physical methods. If we use chemical methods, they are more powerful. Chemical means is more powerful than a physical method. Physical methods like examples are given here, that is filtration, sublimation and so on. The physical methods are generally used to separate the mixtures. Mixture are also kind of substances, and mixtures can be separated using different kind of physical means that we will see in the later part when we will talk about the mixtures. So here you have to take a note that we have to talk only about the chemical means. Whenever you write the definition of elements, you have to learn that it is talking about the chemical means only. Now here the definition is given about the substance. What actually is a pure substance? So any substance that cannot be split into simpler substances by physical means is a pure substances. Now here take a note, we have not talked about chemical means now. Anything which cannot be broken down by any physical method, it is a pure substance. Element also we cannot break down by physical methods. Like hydrogen gas we have talked about earlier. Here also if we use hydrogen gas and apply filtration, if I filter hydrogen gas, still hydrogen gas will be there. Similarly sublimation, for example iodine can undergo sublimation. So if we take iodine gas and undergo sublimation, what it will form? It will form iodine solid. Iodine solid changes to gas changes to solid, that is sublimation. But iodine will remain iodine only, it will not change. So that is why we can say sublimation is a physical method, but still that particular element will not change. Similarly distillation is also a physical method. How these are done we will see in the later part, but we will not go into details now of this particular physical method. So if anything cannot be broken down, if anything cannot be split or broken down into simple substance by physical method, it is a pure substance. So element also is a pure substance. How to write the elements? Different elements are represented by symbol. You have to take a note. We can ask this in one word answer. Element are represented by dash. Answer will be symbols. These symbols can be written in different manners. There are generally 3 different rules for writing the name of the symbols. These symbols can be 1 letter or 2 letters. For the 1 letter symbol, we are having the first rule of writing the symbol, that is the 1 letter symbol. We are writing the English name, whatever the name of that particular element is used in English language, we will take that English name and its first letter is taken as the symbol. What is the first rule? The first letter of the English name of the element is used as the symbol that will form the 1 letter symbol. So English name, for example, hydrogen is the English name of this gas, hydrogen. Its first alphabet is what? H. That means capital H will be the symbol. Yes, capital has to be used. We will not write small. This will be wrong. You have to use capital alphabets only for writing symbol. Next one, boron starts with B, so its symbol is capital B. Furthermore, we'll see here. Furthermore, here carbon C, nitrogen N, oxygen O, fluorine F, sulfur S, phosphorus P, iodine I. All these here you can see there are capital alphabets that are written, and all of them are the first alphabet only. This is the first rule. English name we will take, and in the English name we will write the first alphabet in capital form only. Next one, the second rule here is the 2 letter symbols. Why the 2 letter symbols were introduced? Actually to distinguish, because there are certain elements which are starting with the same alphabet only. Hydrogen starts with H. Similarly, we are having helium. It also starts with H. Now which one should be having the alphabet H now? H already we have taken for hydrogen. If I take H for helium also, then it will be a confusion. I am writing H for hydrogen, H for helium, then it is confusing. Which H I am talking about now? So to avoid this confusion, we are using 2 letter symbols now. Here in this present case, we will write HE. We will not write H, we will write HE. H is for hydrogen, then HE will be for helium. This is done to avoid the confusion between the alphabets or between the different symbols. So here what we have taken is first 2 alphabet. In the helium spelling, first 2 alphabet are H and E. So now here one more thing you will note. In the 2 letter symbols, we will not write both capital. First alphabet will be capital, second will be small. Always second will be small. So some more examples are given where this confusion is avoided, like carbon and cobalt. Carbon is C and cobalt is CO. So here one more thing you note, you have written second one is small. If I write second one capital here, what it will form? It will form C capital, O capital will form carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a gas, so that is wrong. So we don't have to write both capital. First one capital, second is small. So in this case, CO is cobalt. Next one here, nitrogen and nickel. Nitrogen is N, and nickel is what? Nickel is N. I is small. Next, iodine and indium. I capital is iodine, indium is I capital, N small. Next one is manganese and magnesium. These are interesting here. Till now what we have been doing here is we have taken the first 2 alphabet. Helium we have taken first to HE, cobalt we have taken first to CO, copper and so on we have taken. In this case of magnesium and manganese, here first 2 alphabet are also same. Manganese first 2 alphabet are MA, manganese also MA. So now what we will do? We will take the first and the third alphabet. Magnesium first alphabet is M and the third one is G. So likewise Mg is magnesium. And in manganese first alphabet is M and third one is N. So here we have taken the first and the third. Why we have taken the third? Because first 2 alphabet are same in magnesium and manganese. Here one more thing, here copper. Copper we are not taking CO. What we are using here now? We are taking Cu. Copper is Cu. Now why copper is Cu? You may be assuming now. Here the reason is that will form the third rule here. That is, in some elements we are not using the English name. Like in copper, we are not, copper is in English language, but in another language, that is in alchemy it was used. In the earlier days it was discovered, copper was discovered much earlier, so that time chemistry was not evolved. In the earlier form it was called alchemy. In those days copper was called as cuprum in Latin language. So cuprum starts with what? Cuprum starts with Cu. Here it may be given. Yes, here it is. So copper was called as cuprum. So first two alphabet you can see Cu. That is why we have taken the symbol as C capital and U small. So there are certain elements where the name was in Latin language. Furthermore, some more are given here, like sodium. Latin name is natrium. So symbol is Na. We are not using So or anything else. So that will not be used. English name will not be used. Latin name will be used. In certain element it is done. Likewise in iron, Fe from the Latin name ferrum. Silver, argentum, it was called argentum, and therefore from argentum we are getting the symbol Ag. Gold was called as aurum, and from that we have taken Au. The first two letters of Au of the aurum is Au. So likewise we have used these symbols. So all these symbols, some important symbols are given. You can read through and learn these symbols. So what we have discussed just now is how the elements are represented. They are represented by symbols, and symbols can be written in three different manners. The first one method is what? The first method is of writing the symbol is we are taking the English name. In the English name what we are using is first letter, and that first letter has to be capital. Like example, you have taken hydrogen H. Second rule is what? Second rule is to avoid the confusion, and what we are using here is we are using first letter, and also we are taking the second letter of the particular English name. Whatever English name is there, of that we are taking the first and the second letter. Like we have taken in helium He, in nickel we have taken Ni, in cobalt we have taken Co, first letter and the second letter. In this some special cases there, like in magnesium and manganese, we are not taking the first and the second, we are taking the first and the third letter, because first two letters are same in magnesium and manganese. The third and the last rule of writing the symbols is using the Latin name. In the third rule we are not taking the English name, we are taking the Latin name. Latin is the older language, and it is an ancient language, and in the Latin name we are using the symbols like Au is for gold, Fe is for iron, Cu is for copper, and so on. So these are how the symbols are written for different elements. Now we shall move towards the different compounds. What are compounds? Compounds are substances, they can be split. Yes, here you note they can be split by a particular chemical method. If anything cannot be split by chemical method, that is an element. If something can be split, then it is a compound. Like water, if we apply any chemical means on this, then it can be broken down into two different substances. We will get hydrogen gas, we will get oxygen gas separately. Just now in this class we will see how it is done. So anything, if it is broken down into simpler substances by chemical method, then it is a compound. Here you have to take note by which method it is done, that is chemical method. We are not using the physical method, filtration, sublimation and so on. By physical method it will not separate, compound will not break down by physical method. If I for example filtration, if I take water and keep it on filtration, on filtering, water will remain water only it will get purified. Water will get purified on filtration, still it will remain water only, so it will not break down into hydrogen and oxygen gas on filtration. So by physical means compound will not break, compound will break only and only by chemical means. Definition you will learn. How the compound is formed now? Compound is formed by the combination of different elements. Yes, whenever different elements combine together, then a compound is formed. For example, water. Water is a result of what? It is a result of combination of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen combine together, and what we are getting is water. So two elements combine together, two or more than two also, they will form what? On combination they will form a compound. Another example of a compound they have given is carbon dioxide. It is formed by carbon and oxygen. Carbon is C and oxygen is O2. On combining they will give CO2. That is a compound. Next one here, sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is formed by sulfur and oxygen. Sulfur is S, oxygen is O2. It will form sulfur dioxide, that is SO2. SO2 is sulfur dioxide. It is a compound. Next one, calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is formed by three elements now. Calcium is Ca, carbon is C plus oxygen is O2. On combining all of these, what we are getting? We are getting calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is CaCO3. Likewise, this compound is formed. Last one is sugar. Sugar is formed as a result of combining carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So likewise, all these examples are given here of the compound, different compounds, how they are formed. You will remember their compound is formed by the combination of what? It is combination of elements. You can underline this line. Compound is the result of combination of elements. Now we will see some examples how these compounds can be broken down. In the definition we have seen that a compound can be split into simple substance by chemical method. Now we will see some example how it is possible, how by using any chemical method we can break down a compound into different substances. First method is about the water. I told you just now that water can be broken down. H2O can be broken down to give hydrogen gas and oxygen gas separately. How it is possible? That is by the electrolysis of water. Electrolysis is a chemical method. We are applying electricity. We are passing electric current through the liquid or through the solution. That solution is containing water, and on the application of electric current there will be chemical decomposition. Means water will decompose. Or in simple terms we can say it will break down or split into individual hydrogen and oxygen gas. We will not use pure water because pure water is a bad conductor of electricity. Yes, pure water is not conducting electricity. Only the impurities in the water are there that help the water to conduct electricity. Generally, water is a conductor of electricity. Whatever water is we are having around us is impure water. It is having certain impurities. It can be in the form of minerals also. Certain mineral waters are there. You may say we are taking water from water filter. Then that water filter is giving the mineral water. It is having minerals, and those minerals will conduct electricity. Water will not conduct electricity. Always the impurities which are present in that conduct electricity. In the pure water, generally we are using in the chemistry lab, that is like the distilled water. It will not conduct electricity. It is a bad conductor. So we will not use pure water in this case. We will take water and mix it with a small amount of acid. This acid can be hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid. Any acid we will mix in water. How much acid we have to take? We will take a small quantity. Generally 5% is enough. That is, in 100 ml water you will take for example 5 ml of acid. 5%. In 100 ml water, 5 ml of acid is enough. So we will put a small quantity of acid in some water, and then that water which is mixed with acid, it will be called as acidulated water because it is containing acid, and then it is becoming a good conductor of electricity because of the presence of acid there. Now in this acidulated water, what we will do? We will conduct electricity. So whenever this electric current is passed through the acidulated water, then what will happen? Then electrolysis of water is done. You can see the diagram in the book. Like this setup we are taking in a container. Here this container is there. In this container water is filled, and above this we have taken two jars. Empty jars are there, and here you can see a battery is there to conduct electricity, and battery is connected through the wires. And when we turn on the electric supply in this water, in this acid containing water, electric current will start the decomposition of water, and water will break down into two parts. One will be hydrogen gas, one will be oxygen gas. Both the gases will be separated and they will collect in the jars that are placed here. Two jars are placed here. In one jar hydrogen gas will collect, in the second one oxygen gas will collect. So that is what is called as electrolysis of water. This is the equation given for this. Water acidulated on electrolysis gives hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen goes to cathode and oxygen goes to anode. What is the reason for that? That is depending on the valency here. We don't have to go into details of that at the present case. After this, the second method, the second kind of compounds which can be broken down is by thermal decomposition. So thermal means by the application of heat. By heating something we are breaking down. So if the splitting of the substances by the action of heat, any substance on heating, if it is breaking down into smaller substance, then it is called thermal decomposition. For example, chalk. The chalk we are using in the classrooms, that is calcium carbonate. Its chemical name is calcium carbonate. It is made up of three substances: calcium, carbon and oxygen. If we take some amount of chalk and keep it on heating that chalk, that is calcium carbonate, it will break down into smaller elements, that is calcium, carbon and oxygen. Here the equation is given. That is chalk you have taken. On heating, what will happen? It will break down into two things. One is calcium oxide. Calcium oxide formula is CaO, that is containing calcium and oxygen. And the second thing will be carbon dioxide, that is CO2. So if I write the chemical equation, then it is CaCO3, calcium carbonate. On heating, what it is giving? It is giving calcium oxide, CaO and carbon dioxide, CO2. You don't have to learn the chemical method of this equation. These word equations are given. Means the chemical formula you don't have to write. Only this word equations you have to learn. Furthermore, example is given there, zinc carbonate. Likewise, just like the calcium carbonate, zinc carbonate also breaks down into zinc oxide and carbon dioxide. Just one word difference. In place of calcium, you have to write zinc. Zinc carbonate is ZnCO3 and it breaks down into zinc oxide, ZnO and carbon dioxide, CO2. Next one, sodium hydrogen carbonate. What is sodium hydrogen carbonate? It is baking soda. It is used in the bakeries to make to produce cakes. In the bakery it is used, sodium hydrogen carbonate. This on heating, what it is forming? It is forming sodium carbonate, carbon dioxide and water vapor. In class 7 you will learn about this. The application of baking soda in the bakeries is because it produces carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide will make the cake softer. How it is done, you have seen in class 7th already. So here sodium hydrogen carbonate is, sodium is Na, hydrogen H, carbonate is CO3. So on heating sodium hydrogen carbonate, NaHCO3, it will break down into three substances. One is sodium carbonate, Na2CO3. Second one is carbon dioxide, that is CO2. And third thing is water or water vapor, that is H2O. From a single substance, three substances are formed. Last one here, lead nitrate. Lead nitrate is PbNO3 all twice. And on heating, it will also give substances like lead oxide, nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. All these equations we can ask in the form of fill-ups. What you have to learn will be on the reactant side. Out of these products, any one can be given as dash or all can be given as dash. So you have to learn and practice these equations. After this, the last part of this today's class is how the compounds are represented. In the above section we have discussed elements are represented by symbols. To write the symbols, certain rules are there. Similarly, compounds. Now compounds are also represented by certain methods. They are called as formulas or chemical formula. So compound is represented by what? Formula. This is also a one mark question. Compound represented by dash. The answer will be formula. Now a particular formula will show what? It will show how many atoms are present in a particular molecule. For example, if I write water, The formula for water is H2O. H2O means what? It is having H in how much amount? That is 2. That means 2 atoms of hydrogen are there, and oxygen, no number is written there. That means only one atom of oxygen is there. So the formula is indicating what? Whenever we are writing any the formula of any compound, it shows the number of atoms that are present in that particular compound. Here furthermore some more examples of the formulas are given. Go through them and memorize these formulas. All these are the formulas for different compounds, and what they are showing is the number of atoms present in this particular compound. For more clarity, one more example we will take here, like sulfuric acid is H2SO4. Now H2 means, here 2 is written, that means 2 atoms of what? 2 atoms of hydrogen are there. Now next S number is not written, that means only one atom is there, one atom of sulfur is there. Next one 4 is written where? 4 is written with oxygen, that means 4 atoms of oxygen are there. So by this single formula of the compound we can tell how many atoms of which element are present in this compound. I hope it is clear to you. Next one will be the important properties or the characteristics of the compound that we shall be discussing in detail in the upcoming class. The upcoming class will be a live online class that we can have a live interaction also. You can clarify your doubts at that time in the live class itself. So that's all for this present class. Whatever we have learned today, you can go through the reading part, and any doubts you can ask in the comments, or you can have that doubt clearing in the upcoming live class. That is all for today. Thank you.